Good day, folks. Welcome to M1 Racing. We're starting a little earlier today, as we did last week, to take a quick look back at where we finished last week from round 8 of the G-Force Racing League in Singapore, and also take a look at where we are on the driver standings and the constructor standings, with only 4 races left of the season to go. So round 9 is coming up very shortly. Before we go there, Rio is with me as well. We're going to take a look at how we finished in Singapore first of all. So these are the results from Singapore. SHS coming home first, picking up good points for them, and Aston Martin once again, and really taking advantage of the difficulties for J Repo for Ferrari, who had both connection issues and hit a wall towards the end after the rain had come down. So very unfortunate for J Repo, the rain a curse for them, as well as the internet gods. So SHS came home first. Hypno actually came over the line first for Red Bull, but with their 3-second penalty for track limits, unfortunately that demoted them down to second. But still a great performance by them, and very good to get so far up the grid on what was a tricky and very busy race for all of us. N1A came home in third for Alfa Romeo, and N1A impressed us in the qualifying as well and carried that through to the main race as well. So they were our top 3 finishers on the podium. J Repo with a remarkable recovery towards the end of the race, setting aside their challenges from earlier, came home in fourth for Ferrari. Emelecki, always up there in and around the top 5, came home 5th for McLaren. SS7 came home 6th. They were looking good for a podium place before the rain came down and were really motoring through the field, but sadly couldn't make any progress when the rain came down. So they finished in 6th. David T for Haas in 7th. Wons in 8th. Another good performance from Wons. Obo finished on track in 9th, but picked up some penalties after the race for a collision with El Alex. So actually they were essentially moved down the grid after the FIA had taken a look. So Obo did finish 9th on the race itself though. Domo Pierce came home in 10th for McLaren, so both McLaren drivers and both Aston Martin drivers finishing the race. And Ace Pilot finished there in 11th. So DNFs were Mr. Hannes and Alex, who we lost very early on in the race. And Rio, it really was a very eventful race last week in Singapore. Any standout moments for you?
Quite a lot. Definitely the one where I think it was when SS7 spun out on the straight, and then we also had Emelecki get all squirrely out of a lot of the corners. But it was definitely more the unexpected spins from the drivers, because it was very the track was very dry, and you wouldn't expect much spins, but it was definitely quite an experience seeing it.
It was entertainment the whole way through. I think both you and I were just kind of really amazed at how much was going on throughout the race. And folks, if you haven't seen round 8 from Singapore, do take a moment, if you have the time, go and watch either the full replay, or indeed there's an extended highlights package on both our Twitch channel and on our YouTube channel as well. I highly recommend it, and the reason it's extended highlights is there were just so many. There's about 45 minutes worth of them, so it's well worth taking a watch if you've got some spare time at some point. So that's where we finished. You see there J Repo with the fastest lap of 132.669. They pick up an extra point for that, and driver of the day for both Rio and myself was Hypno. They just did a great job, and sad for them that those penalties counted against them, and finishing in second, but a really good drive by Hypno. What does that do to the driver's standings then? So SHS has now moved into the lead of the G-Force Racing League Season 1. So they're now 7 points clear of SS7. SS7 had led all the way through and had quite a substantial lead at the start of the season, and has continued to pick up points, but SHS has consistently come home in first or second pretty much all the way through since they joined from China. But they've also come up against a strong challenge from MVR J-Repo, who's moved up into 4th place in the championship at this point in time. Pretty much when they turn up, they're finishing 1st or 2nd. We won't ask them to talk about the rain, but that has been their nemesis so far, which is really the only reason they're probably not a lot further up. So J-Repo there in 4th, but has caught up massive ground since they joined us from their first race in Italy. So SS7 has been relegated down into 2nd place, but only 7 points the difference between SHS and SS7. And then Emeleki in 3rd, who has really been a very consistent driver, as you can just see from the point scoring week on week. That has kept them in touch at the top of the table. And as we just discussed, J-Repo closing that gap to those top 3 at a rate of knots. Very special call out here for Domo Pierce. They're a regular driver in the league, but also a consistent finisher. Good points hauled in Belgium, but you see them picking up double figures every week, and that's moved them up into 5th place in the driver standings. So great work there by Domo Pierce. So Rio, here's the tricky question. We've got 4 races left to go. We've got Barcelona this week and 3 more after that. Who do you think's going to take that all-important championship title?
After Singapore, I might have to say, if he keeps this like up and he finishes at the top, it might be SHS or it could be SS7, and we all know SS7 has had some very challenging drivers come up and race against them. But for me, it's going to be definitely between SHS, Emeleki, and SS7.
Yep, I think you're probably going to be right there. We've got to keep an eye on MVR, J-Repo, but SHS for me is just so consistent at finishing in those top 2 places. Even if MVR is around, they're going to continue to retain that advantage over the others. So we'll see how that plays out. I've got my eye on the lobby for the upcoming race, folks, and it looks like we might have to jump out the one we're currently waiting in. So we might just take a short break in a moment before we do that. But what I do want to share with you all before we take a short break is take a quick look at the constructors' standings. So McLaren out in front at the moment on 241 points. The consistent performance from Domo Pierce and Emeleki helping McLaren lead, but only by 2 points. From Aston Martin, they're on 239. And then Ferrari catching up quickly. If we see Mac T back joining MVR, Mac T and MVR had 1st and 3rd in both sprint and feature races in Austin. We can see Ferrari closing up as well. And Mercedes, they're in 4th. And I believe Mercedes have 2 drivers out today. And Joe Bean is back. Joe is a good driver, certainly equivalent to SS7. That's really going to mix things up at the top here. So, Rio, same question in 30 seconds. Tell me, who do you think is going to win the Constructors' title at the end of the season?
It's McLaren. Actually, no, Aston Martin, because SHS and Wands, they did say, I heard them talking earlier, I saw them talking earlier in the chat, they did say that they want to get as high as possible for them to win the Constructors' Championship, which they might do, so they're definitely going to be up there, and most likely they're going to win it.
Yeah, I think, do you know what, I really can't call it, and I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. Right now, with 4 races left, there's still so many points up for grabs. It could go absolutely either way, but what's for certain is we're going to be in for a cracking end to the season. So stay right there, folks. We're going to take a short break where we make sure we're all in the right lobby, and then we'll be live with round 9 of the G-Force Racing League from Barcelona in Spain. So stay right there, folks. We'll be with you with live racing very, very shortly. Speak to you in a moment. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to M1 Racing and our live coverage of the G-Force Racing League, round 9 from here in Barcelona in Spain. My name is Mark and I'm going to be your co-host for the next hour or so. Pete is with us as always, tucked away in the background, monitoring the chat for us and keeping an eye on all the racing as it unfolds on the track that we're not able to cover on the mainstream. And I'm delighted to say Rio is with us as well, and we'll do our best to guide you through all the action as it unfolds here in Spain. So Rio, welcome back. Have you had a good week?
Hello. Yes, I have had a brilliant week. Even though I've been trapped indoors most of the time because I was sick, it's been fun since yesterday. Went out to the mall and everything. But no, it's been really fun.
And have you managed to dry out from Singapore last week?
Yep, I managed to do that. It took some time, but I managed it. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. We got rather wet last week. Well, the drivers did. In Singapore, which led to some fantastic racing for us. Highlights of that and indeed the full feed available for you on our Twitch and YouTube channels. So take advantage of that as and when you would like to. But right now we're going to focus in on racing here in Spain. And if you want to keep us company, please do so using the chat. You'll need to follow us on Twitch with a verified email, but then you should be able to talk to us. So let us know where you're watching from today. It will be great to hear from you. So, last week, as I mentioned, was round 8 in Singapore, which gave us one of the most eventful races of the season so far. MVR was leading by a significant margin before connection issues and damage to their front wing eventually led to victory for SHS, and also that notable second place for Hypno, who finished first over the line, but sadly was demoted to second due to that 3-second time penalty they picked up for track limits. But a really great drive from them. And we're going to see, with a very full grid, Rio, who is going to firstly get on pole and then going to take that win. So we're going to find out, we're going to find a driver here to ride on board with on their first flying lap. And you'll see a couple of new names. So we will also introduce you to those new drivers. Let me drop down here to Hypno. And Hypno's about to start. Rio, do you want to take this one?
I'm having a bit of internal issues right now, so maybe on the next one.
No, let me take that one for you. No problem at all. So we are on board with Hypno as we come down into turn 1. Hard on the brakes, try and swing the car in, back on the power, and we're going to swing round this long sweeping turn 3. You'll see different drivers take different lines through here. Car on the right, staying out of our way, braking then letting the car drift up the hill, using that hill to help slow us down a little bit. Back down into turn 4. This corner can catch you by surprise. Use a lot of that curb on the way out. Then we go down to 7 and 8. Big chunk of those curbs as we accelerate up the hill. Flat out round this corner. Powering down towards turn 11. Sorry, turn 10 on the brakes. Swinging in as much of track limits as we can afford over the green AstroTurf. Back round now, turn 12, exit from turn 12. Super important because we're going to take all this speed all the way through turns 13 and 14. Back onto the main straight, and Hypno's going to set their first time of a 112.446, goes equal ninth with DiBiaggi for Red Bull. So congratulations to Hypno, first banker. But you'll notice, folks, that Hypno's done that first lap on a set of medium tyres. So there's just a banker for them, and they'll be back out later on a set of soft tyres, I am sure. We do have some early fast runners, and I am going to bring the tyres up for us, folks, so we can see what our drivers are up to. So Joe Bean, I mentioned they were back today for Mercedes, and already setting a strong time of 111.278. And then SHS in second on the grid so far with 111.651. And McT is back for Ferrari. So they're in one with 111.658, and there we have MVRJ Repo doing what they do best. The fastest time so far, 110.828. So keep your eye on these times, folks. They're going to come down pretty rapidly as these drivers settle in to their rhythm on this great racing track here in Spain. Rio, how's your connection issues going? Are you back with us?
Yep, I think so.
I'm glad to hear it.
Internet did drop out for about a split second there, but I think I'm back.
Glad to hear it. So we've got Emeleki coming around here on their outlap. So they're going to be looking to set their first time. They've yet to set a time. So they're going to be looking to set that here. So they're coming out of turn 12 now. Through 13, it'll just be acceleration all the way. So Rio, over to you.
Yep. So, full gas all the way down the straight. And then you're braking at around just after the 50-meter mark, I'm pretty sure, or just before it. Around turn 1, you spins very easily. Got a driver over there. Coming around there, you might want to lift a little bit because it catches you out, and you do get a fair bit of understeer. Going around turn 4 or 5, I believe, flat around there, and then down there. The avatar keeping well out the way. All the way down to possibly the corner that spins you the most, and then we go flat around there, as the famous George Russell would say, breaking into there, and this is where I had the most problems because of this chicane, which I'm glad they got rid of. It used to spin me out a lot, but it doesn't. And Emeleki coming around here, and full gas down the straight. Might want to lift a little bit when you go around there, just as Emeleki's doing. But you cross the line for a 112.026.
Good stuff from Emeleki, puts them into that 6th place on the grid for the start of that. They look to be struggling a little bit with traction. We saw it in Singapore and a few races recently. Emeleki likes quite a loose rear end on their car, and that was quite visible there from Emeleki. So they may well be out with a much faster time. That 110.828 being the time to beat right now for our drivers. That very strong time, as always, set by NVR. Got an eye on the time. We've got yellow flags you'll see pop up, folks. Typically aren't for accidents. It's just cars going slowly. Yeah, there we go. So we've got 9.5 minutes of qualifying left to go. If you haven't followed us before, this particular league just has one round of qualifying, a single qualifying session of about 18 minutes or so. The drivers go out as many times as they like in during that time. David T there setting a third fastest time of 111.608. So congratulations to David. But I think they went well here in Spain last time. So yeah, as I was saying, the drivers can go out as many times as they like in the allowed 18 minutes on as many tyres as they've got available to them to set the fastest time that they can. We won't have any subsequent qualifying rounds after this one, but the drivers have to be careful what tyres they use, because any tyres they use now will essentially be scrubbed for the main feature race. So you'll see some drivers only going out a handful of times and others going out numerous times depending on what they want to achieve. It's also going to get busy out there for our drivers today. We have a very full grid of 18 drivers. Looks as though MacT had a bit of an issue with the game, sadly, which has disqualified them from qualifying. Unfortunately, we couldn't see exactly what went on there, but sadly for them, they have had to leave us in qualifying. But we do have 18 drivers on the grid for today, so that's going to make it very busy, particularly towards the end of qualifying here, as more and more drivers try to get some times in. Going to go down to Mr. Hannes, which is in the other Haas. If we can pull up their sector times here, we can see they're already up in Sector 2 as well. I'm going to put the track map on for us as well. So Mr. Hanna's doing well for Haas, it would seem, looking to improve on their 111.99 1. As we saw in Sector 2, they were up by 1.5 tenths. They're coming over the line now for 111.759. So that's moved them up into 6th place. So this track suiting the Hasses quite well, it would seem, at the moment. Let's go up to Joe Bean, one of our newer additions to the league. We had them in Austin, in Texas, as we see the Williams getting well out of the way out of turn 12. So Joe Bean coming around here now to set their next time. They were about 2 tenths up in Sector 2. And they got improved by 3 tenths to 110.968. That really closes up the gap there on MVR, Rio. Do you think MVR is going to have it their own way today, or they've got some strong competition?
That one's kind of a bit. I think they might get challenged by Joe Bean for that pole position, because Joe Bean is looking very, very, very quick, and you don't see that. You don't see many people challenging NVR. But no, yeah, definitely Joe Bean going to be one for the fight.
Definitely, and both Mercedes there in 2nd and 3rd. So keeping the others at bay, this is potentially going to look like a very good starting position, at least for the Mercedes team. And they might have their eye on that constructors as well. But it looks as though SHS is going to have something to say about it, as they often do. So they're currently now in 3rd with a 111.487. So congratulations to SHS. But Joe Bean out in front of them at the moment. We're going to go down to Domo Pierce, who looks, actually, I can see an Alfa Romeo of Fusible Orange, who is one of our new drivers. And we very much welcome them to the G-Force Racing League, driving for Alfa Romeo this week. Joining late in the season, but that, as long as they're a good driver, we very much welcome them to the party here. So I think we'll ride on board with Fusible Orange. We'll give them the honour of taking us around a lap of this circuit in Barcelona. It looks as though it's dry today, and as I saw in the driver's chat earlier, no rain predicted. So that will keep things nice and simple for us. In the pre-season race here, it did rain midway through the race and then dried up again. So that threw the cat amongst the pigeons, because our drivers were not expecting it at all, but they handled it well. We'll see how today goes, but it looks as though it's going to be dry all day. So we're on board with Fusible Orange as they're about to set their first lap time for this one, and this is actually the only driver yet to set a lap. You can see their timing in the top right corner of your screen, folks, and that will show us if they're up on others as we go round. So into turn 1, nice and even over those curbs. Don't want to get on that green tarmac on the outside or the AstroTurf. You lose grip very quickly and the car will become unsettled. Fusible taking the wider line through 3, up the hill through 4, back on the power, quick burst, down to turn 5, hug nice and tight to that apex. As you see, it's starting to get busy out here, folks, as we go into turn 7 and 8. This is where you really want to keep accelerating, because you can lose so much time. Round 9, flat out through here. Don't straddle those curbs, because your car will bottom out, and we get down to turn 10. Nice and tight in on the apex. Run out wide, keeping that speed going. Manage the throttle through turn 12. Quite wide there from Fusible Orange. That will slow them getting back on the accelerator as we head through 13. Doesn't lift for 14. And we're going to head over the line to set our first time of 112.697 for Fusible. That puts them currently 14th on the grid for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix with the G-Force Racing League. That's all of our drivers now having set a time. We'll see who else is out. Emeleki looking to improve on their time from earlier. We saw them struggling a little bit with grip on that first out lap, or that first flying lap. And they're going to be looking to improve on that 112.026. I'm not setting a time yet, so timing screen was telling us 7 seconds behind. So I think maybe they're going to go again in just a moment. Their teammate Domo Pierce also on an out lap. I think we've got Rio, and it's great to have Rio back. One of our early drivers on the G-Force Racing League. We haven't seen them for a little while, so delighted that they are back with us, and so would the AlphaTauri team be as well. So good to see Rio back. They're coming over the line here. I don't know if that's the set of time. Yeah, maybe they're still warming those tyres up and haven't gone for it just yet. And maybe they made a small mistake in that last flyer. Now, the drivers won't have time to go back in, change tyres and get back out again. So any of those waiting to come back out for the next flying lap will be doing so very, very soon. And we have another new driver with us this week as well. So Grabika joining us for the AlphaTauri team as well. So Rio's teammate for today. Their first drive with us on the G-Force Racing League, so we welcome them. They do have a time for 1:14.467, but they're currently down there in 17th place. And we've got El Alex back this week, which is fantastic. They were smarting after the collision with Obo, which took them out of the race in Singapore last week. But they are back with us this week for Williams. So El Alex and Emeleki, I remember having quite a good battle in the pre-season. So we're hoping that they're going to be able to have a similar battle with them this time around. SS7 won the race in pre-season here in Spain, but they're going to have a bit of a battle to achieve the same feat this time with a number of other strong drivers now out on the grid. So El Alex just warming up those tyres as well. David T is on another hot lap, as is N1A here. And actually I'm going to go up to SS7, who's looking to improve on their 1:11.50.9. So we're going to ride on board with SS7 here. Rio, do you think SS7 can win here today in Spain?
Yep, it might be more likely because he did win the preseason, and I can tell he's quite experienced with this track because of how much he's pushing and how much he relies on the car.
Just got an eye on the sector times. I don't think they are managing. They pulled out of that lap. Yeah, so they're going to save their battery. And they're going to go one more time, I think. They've run out of time. So SS7 will be finishing in currently 4th place on the grid. Joe Bean has not improved, but MVR, I think they have packed up too. As you can see how busy the track has got in these last laps, and finding a way through this traffic when you're trying to set a hot lap is next to impossible. Which is very, very sad to see. But that's the risk when you've got a very busy grid. You've got to decide: you go out when it's quieter, or you take the risk and go in. There's just so many cars to navigate, unfortunately. So MVR still is in first though, with a 1:10.828. Joe Bean there in second, 1:10.968, and SHS in third with a 1:11.441. SS7 currently in 4th. They're coming into the pits as well. We do have some cars still out there on laps, it would seem, although DBAG has parked it up in the gravel. And is everyone finished by the looks of things? Yeah, so DBAG just returning to the track, having probably pushed it a bit too hard out of that final corner. So very sad for them. Alex, has gone in as well. So they didn't set a new lap time on those brand new soft tyres. So that looks like it brings us to the end of a rather eventful qualifying, and it really did all happen at the very end there. So NVR is, well, they are first in terms of timing, but it does look as though they've picked up a penalty. Now, we do seem to have heard about some potential issues with regards to in qualifying, so we're not sure how that might play out. I'm sure the owner SS7 is probably consulting with the drivers right now. I'm just monitoring the chat, Rio. It did look as though there were some issues during qualifying. Do you think they'll restart, or will we go with what we've got here?
I don't know. I've been thinking about that because MVR J Repo did say he got a penalty. Um, SS7 is just consulting them now, asking. He's probably going to put a poll up if to restart with the current grid, and we're about to find out.
Yeah, we are.
If everyone is going to say yes or no.
Yeah, so don't necessarily take the start of this race for given, folks. There is a chat going on Discord between the drivers. There's a dilemma for our drivers. Some of them will be on the clock, so they're going to have to be careful in terms of how long they have available to race. So it's looking a bit of a trick. Yeah, a bit tricky for the drivers here. Obviously, J Repo is unhappy because of that penalty they believe has been unfairly awarded to them. We obviously didn't see what happened there, folks, so we can't comment on that. But it does mean, sadly, they would be placed 5 grid places further down on what is a very competitive lineup here. So you can understand them asking the question. So we'll see how this plays out, folks. It does look... Well, this may run through into the start of the race on the feed, folks. But if we do have to pause briefly just to reset, then we will. But a moment J Repo would start 5 grid places down, and I think that promotes Joe Bean. Indeed it does, to the start of this race. Looks as though we are going to race. So, all right, folks, we're racing with Joe Bean leading us away. SHS in second, SS7 in third, N1A in fourth. And then J Repo looking to make up early places because of that grid penalty. Very close between N1A and SS7 there. The Red Bull of Hypno having to take to the escape road. But Joe Bean has led us away for Mercedes with SHS right behind them and SS7 a little bit further back in third. We're going to drop down to SS7. MVR will be pumped right now. They're obviously disappointed with having to make up these places, which they feel were unfairly, the penalty unfairly awarded to them. But we know this will show us, their driving ability. So Rio, you think MVR will move up this field pretty quickly?
I think it'll be more than likely as he's already getting past SS7. I don't know if SS7 let him through or MVR just decided to give him a little bit of a battle.
It's probably not worth fighting it, particularly with MVR on soft tyres to start this race. So MVR has got a far lit under them, and that bodes well for us. Looks as though SHS went very wide on the outside of turn 14 there. SHS not fighting, and I think the driver's been pretty fair here, recognising that MVR probably was unfairly disadvantaged by the game and has let them through. I wonder if Joe Bean, Rio, is going to be quite so obliging. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they might have a brilliant battle because they're both around the same pace in the Mercedes and the Ferrari, and they might just battle it out unless Joe Bean feels nice and he's gonna let him through because of that penalty that MVR took earlier.
Yeah, and we saw in Austin actually that Joe Bean is a proper racer, so I'll be interested to see quite how accommodating they are as MVR is now getting onto the back of the Mercedes of Joe Bean. Sadly, we've already lost Ace Pilot. So Joe moves out the way. Very gracious of them. Good, well, respect for them, but that has put them right back into the clutches of SHS. So although they were trying to do the right thing, it has put SHS right on their tail. So these drivers sorting themselves out and promoting MVR up into first. So it's battle will commence from here on in, I am sure. And I don't think MVR is going to be allowed to get away. Rio, a number of different tyre strategies by the looks of things. We've got a mixture of soft, medium, and hard runners out there. What would be your choice for round Spain to begin on?
Um, for me, it might have to be soft first and then hard because when I raced in the preseason, my tires got chewed up so much by the circuit. So I would if I was in there, I would definitely go with the softs first and get those wasted and then get on the hards all the way to the finish.
And I think Embeleki has gone the complete opposite, as has David T. They've gone on to the hards. And they might be thinking, we'll go hards now, go as long as we can, see what the game gives us, see what the other drivers give us as we go deeper into the race. Whether we see safety cars, that's going to help our hard runners out. As we've got Joe Bean now challenging NVR for the lead of this race. So the gloves are off now after the great kindness of the drivers earlier on. It's now battle stations for these front four runners who have pulled out a bit of a gap on L Alex 1. But L Alex 1 has made up quite some places, I think. Let's have a quick look at winners and losers from the early start of the race. Indeed, L Alex moving up 5 places into 5th. From their original starting position. Mac T also doing well, so remembering that Mac T actually started last, so we can expect Mac T to come through at a rate of knots. So it's looking like that we'll have battles all the way down the grid as we're on lap 4 here of the G-Force Racing League, round 9, with only 3 more to go after this. Every single point is going to matter so much to our drivers and their teams as we go later on into the race. Actually, Rio, what's quite impressive about El Alex's performance is they've got ahead of 2 soft runners on their medium tyres.
I was just about to say something. Yeah, he's got up 5 positions from the start on medium tyres. That's really good. Always just been challenged by N1A, but no, he's been good.
Yeah, so looks to have lost a place to N1A, who is on those soft tyres. So perhaps N1A settling in now, trying to take advantage of those grippier, softer tyres. They'll only last so long for our drivers, though. So we'll see the soft runners most likely pitting much, much earlier. And this track in Spain does eat soft tyres for breakfast. So N1A will need to get the best out of these as quickly as they can. El Alex coming under pressure now from Hypno, also on those soft tyres. But El Alex having taken advantage of perhaps some earlier close battles between the other drivers, perhaps having to take avoiding action moving forward. So Hypno and El Alex here battling it out for 6th and 7th place. Emeleki and DiBiaggi having a good old battle here. As we're coming round turn 14, back onto the straight. Emeleki looking to find a way past DiBiaggi in the Alpine. Looks as though Emeleki might make this one stick. Indeed they do. But we've got Mac T also challenging at the same time into turn 1. Both of them getting past DiBiaggi. So DiBiaggi losing 2 places in just 1 corner. Emeleki pulling away now, but dragging the Ferrari of Mac T with them. Emeleki on those hard tyres is going to be a bit of a roadblock for Mac T, so we will stick with these 2. As we come around the back of the circuit now, coming into turns 7 and 8, we'll come up the hill. Big chunk of these curves. Emeleki going quite wide and losing it very slightly, so that's going to give Mac T a decent run. Down the back straight, DRS now available. Well, does Mac T make a lunge down the inside? No, they think better of it on this occasion. But holding the inside, and that's going to give him a run, potentially on the outside. Long way round there for the Ferrari. As we come out of 12, Mac T might be able to get Emeleki on the next straight under DRS, depending if they've got any battery. Okay, thanks for your comment in the chat there. We obviously didn't see that issue with Gaprica. If that gets reported to the FIA, they will definitely take a look. But Emeleki being swamped here on the main straight, with the Alpine trying to go round the outside of Emeleki into turn 1, not being able to make that happen. So Emeleki holding on, but they have now been passed by Mac T And Maxi, I think, will start to pull away from Emeleki. Yeah, okay. Thanks very much for your commentary in the chat. We appreciate it. That the drivers know how to report those events, and we unfortunately didn't catch it on our stream here, but I'm pretty sure Caprico or some other drivers might be able to report it, and then the FIA will take a look at it. So thanks very much for the observation. So we're going to move back up the field here. We see SS7 has moved down into fourth place at the moment. We've got a virtual safety car. So something has happened somewhere on the track. I seem to have lost Pete in my headphones, so I'm not sure if he's still with me or not. Rio, any sense of where that yellow flag was for? And indeed the safety car.
I think that might have been from Rio, the driver, who did. I noticed that he always spun at that turn 3, that long corner. He did that at least once or twice, so he might have done it again. And also he is quite far behind, so that might have been for him.
Yeah, he could be right. So, shame we missed that one. But the virtual safety car means that the drivers really pretty much hold station. So we won't see them bunch up here underneath a true safety car. They will have to keep a certain distance apart. And indeed, we're back under racing conditions. So the Mercedes have got moved up into first and second. And that's because a couple of our drivers, MVR and SHS, have taken the opportunity to go onto hard tyres. Rio, do you think the MVR and SHS, and indeed a number of the other ones going onto hard tyres, will take this all the way to the end now?
I think they might definitely, yep, because we know how long the hard tyres can last, and I've just seen an Aston Martin, I think it was SHS, go across the grass and then come rejoin the track just behind Emeleki.
Oh goodness. Okay, so let's try and find some of these battles. This is where I do miss Pete in my ear, because he gets to see these things whilst we're focused on something else. So we do have Di Biaggi moving over. I don't know if they're defending there, but they have MVR, a fast-moving MVR on some new tyres, getting past them pretty sharpish, and now under pressure from SHS. This battle between SHS and MVR, Rio, I think this might be the one to watch as we get into the second half of the race. I think these two are going to follow each other around.
Yep, they definitely will. These two are no strangers to each other. They've been fighting all season round, and I think they might be fighting for the top step of the Drivers' Championship if NVR keeps this up. They'll definitely be battling out for quite a while.
They will be right up there. I say this battle for the constructors and the drivers is by no means done. Mercedes would love the race to finish now. Oh, looks as though SS7 has moved up into first place as their teammate Joe Bean pits there from the lead of the race. So SS7 assumes the lead of this race and will be looking to take these soft tyres probably as far as they can. SS7 we know is a good driver, but they've got to get those those medium tyres a long way into this race, and perhaps hoping for another safety car of some description before they next come in. We'll be keeping a close eye on the gaps, but one of those gaps which is very close is MVR and SHS, and Emeleki's joined the party here as well. So we've got these three cars slightly out of sequence in terms of pit stops, but Emeleki will be quite happy to go with these two for now. 3 second time penalty for Mr. Hannes. That will be for exceeding track limits. The white lines you see around the edge of the track, if you get all four wheels over those white lines on more than 3 occasions, you will get a 3 second time penalty, and they stack up over the course of a race as well, so you can get multiple ones. Hopefully we won't see too many around Spain here today, but we can expect a few of our drivers to collect a handful of them. So very close here at the front. SS7 currently in first. El Alex has been promoted up into second at this point, but being closed down now by MVR, SHS and Emeleki. That gap to El Alex now to 2.5 seconds or thereabouts, as MVR goes slightly wide on the exit of turn 14, and SHS will have DRS now. So I wonder whether or not they will stick behind or will they make a move. SHS decides better upon making an overtaking manoeuvre, and perhaps will allow them to store up more of their ERS, their battery, for more of a battle later on in the race. I'm going to pop down a bit further down the grid, Rio. We do see Fusible Orange out there, 10 laps in on soft tyres. That's going to be hurting them. Behind them, we've got Mr. Hannes and N1A battling it out as well. So quite a lot of action going on further down the grid. Fusible's done well here, Rio, to take those soft tyres 10 laps in, don't you think?
Yeah, he definitely has, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he started in quite far down, quite close to the last position, and he's got quite worn out soft, so he's done a very good job to get up.
And we saw one car go very wide indeed. I think that was dropped down a bit here. I think that was the Haas of Mr. Hannes carried on that particular corner, but they did return. It looked reasonably safely, unless the drivers tell us otherwise, which they may do later on. N1A is up with their teammate now as Fusible Orange goes into the pit. So yeah, they've definitely had enough of those soft tyres. So that moves N1A on newer mediums up into 7th place. It's going to be really hard, Rio, to call with these mixture of strategies exactly who's going to win this race at this point in time. Any thoughts who it might be?
It's quite mixed for me, but I think it's gonna be either MVR or SHS or SS7 if he doesn't pit and he just goes bold and takes those mediums as far as they can go and then pit. But either way, I think it definitely might be either one of those top three.
What I've noticed actually is MVR is not really closing that gap or as we see Joe Bean go down the inside of Emeleki on much newer hard tyres. So Emeleki really not able to fight that position with Joe. So that's moved Joe up into 5th. But yeah, I've just noticed that gap between SS7 and MVR. It's starting to drop a little. It's down to 8 seconds now. But I'd say a safety car or even a virtual safety car for SS7 will be music to their ears. They'll be able to get in onto some new tyres and really keep them out in the lead of this race. But that gap to MVR is coming down, but only by a few tenths every lap. J Repo does have the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:14.008, so nearly 1:14 dead. DBAG with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. So you get a sense of what these penalties look like, folks. If I go to penalties, yeah, you can see most of them have 3 seconds. So Mr. Hannes, David T and DBAG. Fusible Orange with a 5-second penalty, and that will be for most likely speeding in the pit lane. So they will be added on to our driver's time at the very end of the race. So these positions may change a little when we get to the very end. We've only lost 2 drivers so far, but we have lost 2, and 2 of our favourites. So Rio, after being out for so long, coming back and not getting very far into the race at all. So we're sorry to see Rio go for AlphaTauri. And Ace Pilot went on lap 1 for Williams. So no points for them this year. But their teammate, L Alex 1, is still going and is sticking with Joe Bean. So these two, well, actually, indeed, Joe Bean has closed them down pretty rapidly. So L Alex on much older medium tyres is having a great battle here with Joe as they come round turn 3, heading into turn 4. L Alex will have the inside, but decides not to defend that anymore and lets Joe go. So that moves Joe up into 4th place. Keep an eye on that gap, folks, between Joe Bean and SHS to see if that closes down. The gap between SHS and MVR has spread out a little bit. So they were following pretty much within DRS range of each other. That's gone out to 1.6 seconds. And the gap between MVR and SS7 is now down to just over 5.5 seconds. So MVR in a bit of a rhythm now on those hard tyres, closing down SS7 on their very old medium tyres. It does look as though the cars are spread out a little bit here, Rio. Do you think our drivers are taking perhaps a bit of a breather?
I think that's exactly what they might be doing because they all have been. They've all been pushing so hard and trying to get us higher, but I think they might be, having a little, going for a cruise, and then they're gonna, push later.
A Sunday afternoon drive, as we might call it here in the UK. Yeah, so there we see El Alex making their first pit stop, going into hard tyres. That's going to be their last stop of the race for them. So they'll come out in a roundabout 10th spot. Looks as though David T comes past them, and indeed, so David T passed them into turn 1 for El Alex, and they'll be looking to get up and past David T pretty quickly, so we'll keep an eye on that. Further up the grid, so let's get our running order as we are on lap 15 of 33 here on round 9 of the G-Force Racing League. SS7 out in front, and that gap has gone out a little bit more. I wonder if MVR has suddenly had a problem. That gap to Rio, I'm going up to SS7 and MVR here, MVR in particular, because that gap to SS7 had come down to nearly 5 seconds. It's gone back out to 6.5. I wonder if MVR made a mistake somewhere and that's dropped them some time. But that is allowing SHS. Indeed, we see a Alpine parked on the side of the road there. Yellow flag, sector 3. And that is for Di Biaggi being disqualified, I think. Indeed, Di Biaggi has left the session, so that was what that yellow flag was for, I believe. Whether or not that means we will get a safety car, that yellow flag is still out. This is going to mix things up for us, folks, if we do get a safety car. This yellow flag has been out for a while. We have a yellow flag in sector 1 and 3 now, just in sector 1. So, a lot going on here, folks. We're going to try and work out exactly who's come off track and who hasn't. But SS7 and MVR and SHS are definitely not off track. They are moving ahead nicely. And MVR has made up any ground that they had lost, now 4.5 seconds. I was thinking, Rio, maybe MVR have made a mistake, but they seem to have closed up on, or be closing up on SS7 quite quickly again.
Yeah, I always thought it was SS7 that made a mistake because MVR did get very close to him. But there might be some footage later that we can have a look at, and we'll see, if who made that mistake.
And Pete is at least watching with us, even though I can't hear him, because I've seen in the stream chat, Joe Bean is on a charge, and he's predicting a 3-4-way battle for the victory of this race. And I think, Pete, you're going to be right. So Joe Bean pitted a couple of laps later than the cars out in front, and actually Mercedes playing a bit of a split strategy game here with SS7 not yet pitting, but Joe Bean going in slightly earlier, and that's brought them right on the back of SHS. So we're going to stay with Joe Bean here. He's now in DRS range of SHS to see if Joe can get past and then on to the back of MVR. So Joe is mixing up things for us here, and what has seemed like a battle between SHS and MVR for the title this year now looks as though it's going to get a lot more interesting as we go into these last few races of the season. See an AlphaTauri cruising on the left hand side there. That must be Gabrica. So they're just continuing to circulate, but they are still out there. So we've got Joe right on the back of SHS. They will have DRS now down this main straight past their teams as they come down towards turn 1. Very solid move by Joe Bean, easily past Rio even before we got to the corner of turn 1.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I thought they would have a good battle because SHS is only 2 laps down from Joe Bean in tyres. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I don't think SHS wants a battle. Just wants to go for a drive and see how far he can get.
Maybe it's playing the long game and just spank some more good points. Maybe it's perfectly valid strategy. And they can now, of course, follow the very fast-moving Joe Bean as they look to close down that gap on MVR. So let's keep an eye on that gap. It's 3.2 seconds from Joe Bean to MVR. And indeed, MVR has got the gap to SS7 down to under 3 seconds now. So SS7 has really got to be thinking about pitting very soon. But SS7's going to be a bit of a rocket ship when they come out as well. They won't have to go very far on a new set. Indeed, SS7 is in and on to soft tyres. That's a brave move, Rio. 14 laps on soft tyres. Do you think they can do it?
I think they might, and hopefully will do it, because if they do, those soft tyres are going to be like done, because this circuit eats up a lot of the rubber on the tyres. But he's definitely going to get up there with those new soft tyres.
Well, as I've just said in the chat, I think it's worth the gamble. Nothing really to lose to come try and get through these drivers on those soft tyres. And SS7 already up and past N1A there. So we're going to be seeing them close down that gap. The pit straight here, and actually a pit stop here in Spain, it is not going to cost you an enormous amount of time. It's just over 20 seconds. So they can afford to make that call and potentially make up that time. So 4.3 seconds SS7 is away from Emeleki, but remember this is softs against hards, and Emeleki's tyres are super old at this point. 18 laps in, we can see Emeleki coming in very shortly, I'm sure, also to go on soft tyres. So don't count Emeleki out either at this stage. I could easily see SS7 and Emeleki towards the very front end of this race as we draw towards the end. We are over halfway through now, folks. We're on lap 20 of 33, round 9 of the G-Force Racing League. Our championship leader, SHS, currently in third place. SS7, who's in second at the moment, in fourth, having pitted onto some new soft tyres, and already up past Hypno now as well. They're in fourth. And we've got MVR, who's currently in fourth place, but closing this group down, leading the way, 2.8 seconds, 2.7 seconds from Joe Bean. But Joe is closing that gap down to NVR. So we're going to have a battle on our hands very quickly. I do see David T and Wands very close together. Now, I'm not sure if there's been an overtake here. And David T has got past Wands, or Wands is coming at them. Both of them very old tyres right now, or older tyres, 12 laps in, but those mediums of David T's will be starting to feel the pressure a lot more than Wands will on their hard tyres. So, yeah, indeed, Wands closing down into DRS now. Let's stay with Wands and David T as they come round through turn 10, and we'll see if Wands can make it past. SS7 setting the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:13.612. We said SS7 would be in a rocket ship. They definitely are. Afterburners on, as we've seen David T into the pits here. So they've had enough of those medium tyres. They're going to go for one last pit stop. I'm pretty sure that's going to be soft. So Wands has moved up into 8th. El Alex back up into 7th now, so making progress forward. But Mac T now, 13 laps in on those hard tyres, looking to try and get into DRS of Hypno in front of them. So Hypno, a great performance last week in Singapore, our driver of the day, under the lights there at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. Putting in another good performance here for Red Bull, but I'm wondering if they'll really take those hard tyres all the way to the end of this race. That's a long way to go. SS7 now 9 seconds away from SHS and closing that gap down. I'm going to try and expand my timing screen just to compare last lap times and see what the difference truly is. So last lap by SS7 was a 1:13.6 and SHS was a 1:15.9. So SS7 currently 2.5 seconds a lap faster than SHS. Won't be long, Rio, before SS7 is back up the front.
SS7, I've noticed he's lapping very quick. So ever since he's put those hard tires, soft tires on, he was at 6th. I think he was at 6th. Now he's at 4th, and he's lapping it very quick. I think it might be over a 1/10 of a second per lap. He's definitely gonna get up there, beating those hard tires.
Yeah, and I've dropped down to Mac T here as well, who's got right on the back of Hypno now. So the Ferrari driver impressed us, was my driver of the day in Austin. Finished it getting 3rd place in both sprint and feature race. and they're showing their driving ability here. Currently in 6th place, up behind Hypno though, and we'll be hoping to get past, maybe on this back straight. The DRS is available. Hypno might be on the ERS, so that's the energy recovery system, the extra battery boost that the drivers have. It's a limited amount of power and does expire, but you can recharge through a race, through your braking and other things. So will be using that strategically during the race. Mac team might look to take advantage of that now, as they're just under half a second as they come on to the main straight. You can see the DRS open there, but Hypno is fast in a straight line, but MacT looking down the inside. Emelecki setting the fastest lap of the race now, 1:13.028, and that's on medium tyres. So Emelecki moving forward. They do like the hard medium strategy, Emelecki. We've seen them do it many times, and that's going to give them a significant advantage towards the end. Their tyres are going to certainly last longer than SS7s, and indeed the hard runners in front of them. I think a lot of our drivers, and I think, Rio, if we get a safety car or even a virtual safety car, I think all drivers will pit at this point, do you think?
Yeah, especially the top three. If they want, they're probably most likely going to pit and go on to, well, it might be the softs because we've only got around nine laps remaining. But no, it's definitely going to be the ones that maybe even I would assume if SS7 wasn't in 4th, it's going to be all that top 6 might be going into the pits if there was a safety car or virtual car.
Indeed, and I've dropped down to Emelecki and El Alex, who have resumed their battle from the pre-season race. So, and indeed a pretty good one in Bahrain as well. So Emelecki right on the back of El Alex as they come down the main straight. Emelecki going down the inside into turn 1. Easy pass for Emelecki, and that's the advantage of having that loose rear end with very little downforce for Emelecki. They are lightning in a straight line. So good move by Emelecki, moves them up into 7th, and they'll be on to the back of MacT, I'm sure, in no time at all. Want to give a couple of our new drivers some airtime here. So down to Fusible Orange for Alfa Romeo, circulating in 14th, have just pitted onto some soft tyres, so they'll be going quickly here and hoping to make up some ground to Domo Pierce in front of them. And Grabika here in last place for 15th for AlphaTauri. But good to have them out with us and still going. And this league does reward points for every finisher in the race. So Gabrica will be picking up points for AlphaTauri if they can get their car to the end of the race, and we welcome them to the league. So moving back up, Joe Bean and MVR. 2.5 seconds separates the two of them, both on similarly aged tyres. Joe doesn't appear to have made many more inroads into MVR's gap right now, so it seems to be hovering around the 2.5 second, and indeed on terms of lap times they're almost identical at the moment, so not much to choose between these, and indeed SHS behind them, so it's starting to get a bit tighter between these three. SS7, that charge on the soft tyres might be starting to peter out. They've got a gap of 4.5 seconds to SHS in front of them. Maybe that early pace has deserted them a little bit, yeah, and indeed we see SS7 are struggling now for a bit of grip. Spain, as I mentioned, does eat up these soft tyres incredibly quickly, and SS7 starting to feel that pain a little bit. MacT down here in 5th and Hypno in 6th on these very, very old hard tyres, like many of our runners now. Will start to feel the loss of grip pretty quickly. We still have another 7 laps or so to go of this race, so they've still got a long way to go on these tyres. 20 odd laps that they will have to do, 25 laps or so on this set of tyres. Indeed, Hypno's got past MacT, so Hypno feeling perhaps a bit more confident on those hard tyres at this point in time, but these two continuing to fight it out for 5th and 6th place. But Emelecki is fast approaching on their mediums. The gap now to MacT is down to 2.5 seconds. We can see Emelecki there in the distance, closing down MacT and Hypno. So we're going to have a three-way fight for fifth place very, very shortly. Joe Bean, I do see, dropping back a little bit more from MVR, although SS7 picking up the pace again. That gap to SHS now just coming up in 3.5 seconds. So maybe I wrote their soft tyres off a bit too early, Rio. Maybe they were conserving their battery or just playing the slightly longer game. But SHS closing down and Emeleki closing down as well.
I think they might be playing the longer game here because they're all on they're all on the same tires, and they're all, I would assume, doing the same pace because well, Joe Bean might be lapping a slightly faster because he's got 2 laps of earlier, fresher tires. But yeah, it's they might be playing the long game up until the very last minute.
And it's worth thinking that through as a driver. You don't want to go too hard too early when you come out on these soft tyres, because it does eat up very, very quickly. Charge up that battery, save them towards the end. SHS we've seen very good at conserving tyres, and none of these drivers now need to pit. So everyone has pitted, has switched on, I think, to a different compound. So all required pit stops now complete for our drivers. But this battle between MacT and Hypno is going to get even busier, with Emeleki now nearly within DRS of Hypno. So MacT and Hypno switching places under DRS a couple of times now. Not really able much to separate these two, but it's going to get super interesting when Emeleki joins on the back of Hypno, which they're going to be doing now. They are already in DRS range of Hypno. So maybe a bit too far back to do it in this corner. And indeed, Hypno, we may see have another go as they do. So Hypno getting past MacT one more time. This squabbling between the two, the Ferrari and the Red Bull, is even helping Emeleki get even closer. So Emeleki will be hoping to find a way past. We'll see if they can do it. We're on lap 28 of 33 here in Brazil, round 9 of the G-Force Racing League. MVR out in front, but battles starting to come together across the grid as we reach the end of this race. About 5 laps left to go. Rio, where does Emeleki do it? Where do you think their best opportunity is going to be?
I think their best opportunity will definitely be through the last corner, Catalonia, or down the straight with DRS.
And yeah, so you can see the slight disadvantage they have is the car in front of them, MacT, also gets DRS from Hypno. So it's going to need a really good exit from Emeleki, but they're much closer to MacT here. So this could be the one. So Emeleki right behind MacT now as we come on to the start-finish straight. Emeleki's looking to try and just get the car under control, it would seem, as they come out of there. DRS open for both the Ferrari and the McLaren. The McLaren will be they decided not to make a move there, and I wouldn't be surprised if MacT was on their ERS just to keep them at bay, because we've got Emeleki now trying to find a way down the inside of MacT. This might be the corner, maybe the one we weren't even thinking about. No, they think better of it into turn 4. So Emeleki is all over them like a rash, right on the gearbox of MacT in front of them, putting him under all sorts of pressure here. MacT, though, not leaving Hypno alone. And we hope the drivers are looking in their mirrors. It's going to get very busy. Here we go, down into turn 10 in just a moment. They're coming around turn 9 now. Will there be a move here? We wait with bated breath. Emeleki hovering right under the rear wing of MacT as we come around turn 10 through 11 and then out of 12. Don't think Emeleki could be any closer unless they tried. Think better of being on the inside of 13. And here we go once more down the main straight. We're on to lap 30 now. Emeleki definitely seems to have the run on MacT, but MacT has got that extra DRS, and MacT goes past Hypno. Emeleki looking to go down the inside of Hypno and lose it all. They held on to it. They have held on to it. Sideways there, Rio, from Emeleki.
Yeah, I was just gonna say he was doing so good. I think he might have got a bit too peckish on the gas there, but he was set for a good overtake.
And it's given the opportunity for Mac T to actually pull a little bit further away from Hypno. And we lose? Yeah, Emelecki perhaps pushing those tyres a bit too hard and being in the slipstream of the car in front of them. Behind, Emelecki needs to get out of the way pretty quickly to allow that Alfa Romeo through. That's good. No contact caused. Emelecki was ghosting, but unfortunate for Emelecki, he was on such a charge. Unfortunately for them, overcooked it, and they're going to have to do it all again. We're going to move back up the front wheel. Emelecki will be looking to move forward pretty quickly. So Hypno now needs to get back onto the back of Mac T. They've no longer got the pressure from Emelecki behind them. So Mac T, good 18.5 seconds back now from SS7. So SS7 here only needs to focus forward. Their charge forward is still happening. They're 2.2 seconds away from SHS, and SHS 2 seconds away from Joe Bean. Joe Bean now 4 seconds behind MVR, so MVR has settled in to a bit of a rhythm here and is holding the Mercedes at bay. But the Joe Bean SHS SS7 battle could be about to reconvene. We do only have 2.5 laps left of the Spanish Grand Prix here, and actually if I go, and Emelecki has now got past N18, so they've moved back up. So SS7 is getting closer. It's nearly 1.5 seconds to SHS. Can SS7 get on the podium here in Spain, or is SHS going to hold on to that last place on the podium and keep their run of podium finishes going for Aston Martin? It's turning out to be a good day for the Mercedes team, Rio.
It is, especially for Joe Bean. I don't believe he's been in a race for quite a while. He's doing good for his first time back. If he did go away for the past couple of races, and I also noticed SS7 might have run out of battery because he was charging it on the straight, as you saw from that red light coming on from the back of his car. So he's also getting a bit slower. He's gone from 1.3 seconds to 1.6. So his battery might be challenging him here.
It does look that, yeah, they've obviously pushed really hard to get up with SHS, and SHS is doing the same to get on the back of Joe Bean. I think these drivers are going to run out of laps. MVR, I think, is about to start lap 33 of round 9 of the G-Force Racing League, making up for the issues they had through qualifying. Very considerate driving by our other drivers, letting them retake the lead. But now very well out in front from Joe Bean in second. SHS in third, and SS7 trying as best they can on those much older soft tyres. We saw how Fusible Orange was struggling on those soft tyres around 13, 14 laps. I don't think SS7 is going to be able to make much of a dent here. So we're going to go up to MVR to follow them for the last few corners of the Spanish Grand Prix. Another excellent race by MVR. This will help them close up that gap towards the top of the drivers' standings, particularly with SHS down in third. That helps them out, as well as SS7 being down there. Emelecki down in 9th now as well. So we can see MVR pulling up closer to SHS, and it's really going to mix things up for the end of the season. MVR coming round the last corner, lap 33, G-Force Racing League from here in Spain. MVR takes victory for them and Ferrari. Congratulations, MVR. A great drive, and I think good recompense for the unfortunate circumstances both in qualifying and also in Singapore last week. So congratulations to them. Brilliant drive by Joe Bean behind them, taking second place for Mercedes. So great result for Mercedes and for Joe Bean. It's good to have them with us this week. SHS, another podium position for them, comes home in third. A valiant effort by SS7. They come home in fourth for Mercedes. Mac T, another good day for Ferrari as well. Mac T comes home in fifth. Hypno in sixth. And El Alex up into 7th. They finished in 7th. So good drive from El Alex, particularly after last week in Singapore. That's a great result for them. And M1A has finished in 8th for Alfa Romeo. So, Rio, I've got to ask you the question. Who's your driver of the day?
It's pretty easy to say. It's definitely got to be MVR, J Repo. He's driven so well from the start, and he's been very, 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 very quick, consistent, and he obviously with the penalty that from starting 4th and getting up to 1st, I think all the drivers did let him pass there, but apart from that, he is driven very quick and yeah, good.
Once they got out in front, there was no catching them for everyone else. So MVR is Rio's driver of the day. It's also Pete's driver of the day as well. And I'm going to give it to MVR as well. They had some challenges today. They were on fire when they came out the starting blocks. Blasted past, admittedly a loud pass by the other drivers, but then nobody got near them in the end. But a much closer race than we've had recently when MVR has been leading, but a very solid performance from them. So consensus here in the commentary box. So our final classification, MVR in 1st, Joe Bean in 2nd, SHS in 3rd, SS7 in 4th, Mac T in 5th, Hypno in 6th, L Alex 1 in 7th, N1A in 8th, Emeleki there in 9th, an uncharacteristically low finishing position for Emeleki. 10th for Mr. Hannes, 11th for one more points for Aston Martin, David T in 12th, Domo Pierce in 13th, Fusible Orange there in 14th. If I can see on my screen here, we have Fusible Orange here with 14th. And then we had we do have a new driver for AlphaTauri, finished in 15th. And then we had a few DNFs, just a handful of DNFs today, but 15 drivers finishing. So that is a great result. So let us flip back to holding screen. And that's going to make some changes to the constructor standings. These the results from Singapore last week. So these are obviously going to change, but that's going to improve Ferrari standings and Aston Martin. Rio, it looks as though McLaren's lead is going to be gone.
Yep, I think that is McLaren is all done and dusted for the top of the Construction Championship. They're going to be in 2nd, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But Aston Martin, as they said earlier, SHS and Wands did say they were going to overtake that spot, which they have successfully done. So good for them.
It definitely is good for them, and that's going to, I think, Aston Martin will be leading the championship as we go into the final race of the season. Ferrari would have closed up that gap with MVR taking the win, and I think Mac T finished there in 5th, so that's good points for them. But also, don't forget Mercedes. They finished 2nd and 4th today, so it's going to get super tight at the top. It's a really exciting Rio. We've got next week, we are back Wednesday. I'd say our usual live time is 8 p.m. UK time, but we have been starting 15 minutes earlier just to go through the current standings for drivers and constructors. So we're going to keep doing that, folks. So if you want to join us around about 7:45 UK time, 7:45 p.m. that is UK time, next Wednesday, we will take a look at where everyone is standing, and we'll also have round 10 of the G-Force Racing League, which next week is from Japan, Suzuka in Japan. A great drivers circuit. I know many of our drivers do love going around there. Very long circuit, plenty of opportunities for overtaking, incredibly fast corners, and a great spectacle for us to watch. So do come and join us next week for round 10 of the G-Force Racing League. Only 3 races left to go. There is also one more sprint, and that's going to be in Brazil, race round 12. So I should say, so did I say next week was round 10? I meant it was round 11. So, next week is Japan, then Interlagos, Brazil for round 12, and that will be a sprint. And our final grand finale in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Yas Marina and Abu Dhabi for the last race of the year. So, Rio, any particular standout moments from the race today?
Most likely for me, it's got to be Emeleki going for a spin there. That was, no one was expecting it, I don't think, and he was pushing very quickly. But no, that definitely might be the most standout moment for me.
It was, that was pretty exciting. Emeleki charging hard, but sadly losing it at the most critical moment. All on their own, sadly, but that dropped them back a few places. That was exciting to watch. It was the battles we had early on between SS7, Joe Bean, SHS, and MVR was great to watch. The charge from El Alex and Emeleki throughout the race, and also Mac-T and Hypno. That was pretty compelling watching as well. So, firstly, my thanks to Rio for watching along with me today, to Pete, who has been helping us behind the scenes but via text. We had some audio issues with the way that we communicate. We'll sort that out for next week. My thanks to Pete for being there for us. We did get there in the end. To all our drivers for delivering us another fantastic round of racing on the G-Force Racing League, and most importantly to all of you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed your time here on M1 Racing watching the G-Force Racing League. Come back and join us next week for round 11 in Japan, and we'll see who is going to take the crown of champion of the G-Force Racing League Season 1 as we get closer and closer to that ever important conclusion. Have a safe week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye for now.